Hey, and welcome to my channel's first real series. This is what if WWE pushed Zack Ryder. I'm gonna make a few parts of this. So this isn't the only part. This is just going to WrestleMania 28, I think. 29 maybe. I think 28. Actually, no, 29. Yeah, I was right the first time. So let's get into this. And I have ordered my unrivaled Cody off of Ringside Collectibles, so PickFed is coming soon. So that's something to look forward to. This will go a few parts. Let's get into it. We'd start off with the Bros Open Challenge, or with the Long Island IC's Open Challenge for the Internet title. Every week it would start at Halloween Havoc, where Tyson Kidd would take the Open Challenge. Every week he'd defend the title, and then on pay-per-views he'd have rivalries and everything. So it would be a good match, of course, because it's Tyson Kidd versus Zack Ryder. Like, you can't get much better than that, especially when they're both at, around their peak at this point. So, yeah, Zack Ryder would get the win, and let's just move on. It would be, I don't know how else to explain it. Good match. It's not special, just not anything too special, but it would deserve its spot on the card. This would take place in 2011, late 2011, October. Next up, he would take on his real-life best friend Cody Rhodes and former tag team partner from OVW or FCW, I don't really remember, but they would take on each other in a Falls Count Anywhere match with Zack Ryder getting the win. This would give him even more over because Cody would be a top mid-card or an upper mid-card heel, like the top of the upper mid-card at this point, because he was rising fast in 2011. So Survivor Series, that's a pretty big match for the Internet title. Zack would get a win. Cody would be able to give his friend a win. Just perfect match. Next up, Zack would take on a pretty big star in Kofi Rhodes. Well, he's big now, but he wasn't that big back then. This would be called the second workhorse title. TLC, they'd take it, or it would be a tables match with Zack Ryder winning with a Rough Rider through a table off the top rope. So, yeah, I feel like that would be a really good match because I think they've had a match before, I'm not really sure, especially not for a title. They might have had a U.S. title match, not really sure, but I think that would be a good match, especially since this was towards the beginning of Kofi's career, so yeah. Next up, this one would really be good. It would be Zack Ryder versus Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble. Some things you should know would be that the Royal Rumble winner was Dean Ambrose with the help of the Shield. They kind of dominated the match and then let their leader, Dean, win. But this would be the first match on the card, and it would just be insane. There would be submissions versus the more high-flying style of early Zack Ryder, and it would just be absolutely great. Back then, I was a huge Zack Ryder fan and a huge Daniel Bryan fan. So, you can't get much better than this for me. But yeah, this would be huge. It would just, if Zack Ryder won, which he would in this case, it would really give him a bigger push. Next up, this is the first one against, at this time, the biggest star he's faced, being Rey Mysterio, the master of the 619, at Elimination Chamber in a steel cage match. It would be great. Zack wouldn't escape. Instead, he would escape, but not through the door. He would end up just climbing out in like the last second with Rey Mysterio also like trailing him. But he would get knocked down by Rey, so Rey wouldn't look weak. But he would just get knocked out with a kick and then fall off. But it would still be a really good match since both of these men are really good high flyers. Well, I think Zack's going for more of a strong style thing now, but still, he was a really good high flyer. Yeah, I think we would get some good spots off the top of the cage and everything. Yeah, really good. I do think that realistically this could happen. Rey could have lost to Zack, and he wouldn't have been damaged. Next up, we have Cesaro versus Zack in a one-on-one, just normal match at Night of Champions. This was back in the year that Cesaro debuted. Sorry if my voice sounds weird. I've been yelling a lot in wrestling school because we had our first little audience, like some scouts, and they told us to yell during the match, so I did, and now my voice is shot. It's terrible. Next up, we have a really big feud for Zack Ryder, a feud against CM Punk going into WrestleMania for the WWE Championship, winner takes all. This would be about how CM Punk would question if Zack really should be a champion. He'd question if giving yourself a title and just saying that you're the champion really counts, because he would also question how hard Zack worked for it, and it would just be a really good feud, really good match. I think we'd get some good spots. Excuse me. We'd get a broski boot counter into like an Anaconda Vice. We'd get diving elbow drops. We'd get moonsaults. I think Zack Ryder used to hit shooting star presses, and the ending would come with a reversal to the Rough Rider being caught into a power bomb, and then pulled into a GTS, and then roll through into a second GTS, then a third, because I don't think WWE, I don't think I would want Zack to get buried so easily against Punk. I think he would just need to take a few of Punk's GTSs. Like, Punk wouldn't go for a pin after him because he would know that Zack wouldn't go down. And I think that would be good. Next, we have a smaller feud against Ryback on Raw. It would go 2 months, and it would just be, a little feud. Zack would lose because this would be when Ryback was first getting over. They would have to have him kind of dominate as a heel by beating one of the top baby faces, like a very big baby face who was just gotten over, or not just gotten over, but been in a big match going on before the main event of WrestleMania. And champion versus champion, winner takes all. This would be a great way to get Ryback over, and it would just be perfect. Next, so he doesn't look like he lost all his credibility. He would beat Santino a few times in a 2 or 3 month feud. This wouldn't really be a good feud. It would more of just be WWE would start acting like they were turning Zack into a comedy character. The fans would be against it, but it would be a battle of comedy. It would be Cobra versus Broski. Nah, no one would really like it. It would basically just be like a placeholder feud before we get to the big one, the biggin. Just coming up next, it's gonna be the main focus of this video. So, yeah, we'd get a fatal 4-way for the WWE Championship on a random episode of Raw. The 3 most over guys and Big Show, Heath Slater from 3MB, John Cena, Zack Ryder, and Big Show in a fatal 4-way for the WWE Championship, just on a random episode of Raw. People would be loving this. It would be a good match, really good, but the ending is what would really get people. It would remember that this would be a week after November. We'd get the Shield targeting. They'd be like, this is after the Shield's debut. They'd be targeting everyone, and they'd just attack everyone in the ring. The next week, they'd face 3B, destroy them, and the next pay-per-view would be, it would be, Elimination Chamber, a 6-man Elimination Chamber match between Zack, Ryder, John Cena, Big Show, and the Shield for the WWE Championship. Zack, Ryder, and Big Show and John Cena would kind of try to pick apart each member of the Shield at a time. It would start off with Roman Reigns and John Cena. Then Zack Ryder would enter in the match, and they'd pick off Roman. Then Seth would get in. They'd pick off Seth. Then Dean Ambrose would eliminate Zack. Big Show would get in. Dean would eliminate him, and then John would finish off Dean. Boom. Win. Next up is Battleground. We'd get a 3-on-3 main event between the Shield and our three heroes, the Big Show, Zack Ryder, and John Cena. The heroes would lose. Then we'd get Daniel Bryan and Kane versus Big Show and Zack Ryder for the Tag Team Championships. The go-home show before WrestleMania, because we would already be getting the Shield versus Zack and Big Show. Winners would be Zack and Big Show. Zack and Big Show, the Tag Team Champions, taking on the Shield, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. We get some cool spots, but I think early on, the Shield would pick off Big Show, and it would just be Zack Ryder taking on the Shield for most of it. He'd get a hot tag into Big Show. Big Show would start to pick up some steam. Then he'd get hit with a spear, then a curb stomp. Boom. He's out. It's an elimination tag team match, though. So then Zack would get in, and then he'd just get hammered. Like, Roman would hit him with a chair, getting disqualified. But then there's one more, and Seth hits him with a curb stomp. Next up is John Cena versus Dean Ambrose, main event of WrestleMania, I think 29. We wouldn't get Rock versus John Cena. This means the spinner belt wouldn't go out yet. We'd get an interference from the new tag team champions, the Shield. We'd get the Big Show and Zack trying to stop them, but they would get hurt along the way. Then the ref would get knocked out. They'd take out John Cena, and then they'd put him through a table with the triple power bomb, bring him into the ring. Dirty deeds. 1, 2, 3. We'd end the show with the picture of the Shield standing, holding all three titles above the bodies of our three heroes. And that's what would happen in part 1 of If WWE Push Zack Ryder. Like and subscribe, please. Goodbye.